Welcome to Elma Wine Liquor's YouTube channel. My name is Tim. Today I am here to talk to you about how to taste wine. So you may be interested in wine, you may have watched other wine videos, you may have gone to a wine tasting, maybe you felt intimidated, wanted to learn a little bit more about what kind of the professionals do or what people in the industry do when they're tasting wine, how they do it, what they're looking at, what they're looking for, all those kinds of things, and a little bit of the terminology that we use when we're tasting wine as well. So after this video, hopefully you feel a little bit more confident the next time somebody says you want to go to a wine tasting, or you're out at a store and you're tasting wine, whatever it is. Hopefully this will help you boost your confidence a little bit. So a lot of times wine tasting can be broken down into the 5 S's. So see, swirl, sniff, sip, savor. So I will start with the first one. You can't see anything until we've poured a little bit of wine in the glass. You never want to pour too little in the glass because you want to be able to see a decent amount of the wine. You want to be able to get some of those aromas. If you just put a little drop in, you might not get that full full experience. You also don't need to put a whole filled glass in if you're just doing a little tasting. You can see here I just have a little bit in there. And one of the things I noticed right away as I was pouring it is I could already smell some of those aromas. Without doing anything else, just some of those cherry notes came wafting up right away. But back up to the steps. The first thing we want to do is see. You notice I have a white paper here. One of the best things you can do is hold your glass over a white sheet of paper like this. I'll show you from this perspective. And one of the things we're looking for is kind of the color. A lot of times you can, really good wine tasters can pick the varietal just by looking at the colors of the wine, whether it's a red wine or a white wine, which, interesting side note, there are studies done or experiments done where people are blindfolded and given a wine, and a lot of times they can't even tell whether it's red or white based on the other things that they're looking at. So first off, is it red? Is it white? This one is obviously a red. Another thing we're looking for is around the rim is some of the color changes. So as a wine gets older, is aged longer, sometimes you'll see like a more brickish red around the ring at the top of the wine. This one is pretty young. It is very mild red, pink throughout, and almost a little bit clearer on that rim. So I know that this is young, and if I look at the wine label, I can verify that because it is a 2023, which means that the grapes were picked, harvested in 2023. So less than a year ago, they were picked and crushed, and now already in a bottle, available for drinking. Next thing we're going to do, as you can see me starting to do it already, is give it a big old swirl. If you're less experienced with this, sometimes it's easier to do it on a table. You get a little bit of a bigger swirl going on that. Why are we doing this? Why would we swirl the wine? Well, it helps release some of the aromas of the wine. Like I mentioned, I started smelling the cherries right when I was pouring it. That's because the wine was being mixed up and splashed around. So now that it's been sitting in the glass, when I swirl it around, I'm opening up all those aromas. And then I'm going to immediately bring it up to my nose for a big sniff, the third S. So that swirling releases all those aromas, and then they kind of get trapped by the shape of that wine glass. You'll notice there's a lot of different shapes of wine glasses out there. They all serve a different purpose. They're kind of meant to be drank with different varieties of wine, but for our purposes, it comes in a little bit more narrow on the top, and it helps trap in those aromas. So I'm going to swirl it again, give it a nice big sniff. Definitely get a lot of that cherry, really nice red cherry, almost a little bit of a tartness on the nose to it as well. I get a touch of earthy aroma as well on it, which is something that I would expect from this type of Pinot Noir from the Willamette Valley in Oregon. All right, so we've seen it, we've swirled it, we've sniffed it. We're more than halfway through the 5 S's, and this wine has yet to touch my lips. So wine tasting is a little bit of a misnomer, because a lot of the actual elements of tasting the wine are the sight and aroma. You may have heard or read in the past that a lot of our taste buds, our taste sensations, actually come from aroma first. You eat with your eyes, you eat with your nose. That aroma helps waken up your taste buds and kind of prime them for thinking about what might be coming, into the mouth. Which, there's a lot of funky experiments out there. You let somebody smell something that tastes that, and then it tastes completely different, and it throws your senses out of whack. So, I saw it, I swirled it, I sniffed it, I just took a sip. Now, usually when I'm tasting a wine or a liquor, anything, I like to give it at least 2 sips, preferably 3, just to get a full experience. That first sip is going to help prime your palate. It's going to clean off anything else that might be there. You'll notice that I swished it around, swirled it around in my mouth, and I'm spitting it out right now just because I taste a lot of wine. I'm filming this in the morning. I don't need to be drinking glasses and glasses of wine right now. So feel free to spit it out. It's not going to really change what you're tasting. Or you can drink it. Doesn't matter. So I took 1 sip. Going to swirl it around again and give it another sip. So, a couple of elements that you might notice while I'm taking a sip. I'm breathing in through my nose while I'm taking a sip. Don't overcomplicate it. It's not, the hardest thing to do, and it's not the most essential thing to do. But as I'm taking a sip, I'm breathing in through my nose. I'm getting more of those aromas, getting my palate all ready. I took a first sip, swirled it around, swished it around, almost in a way cleaned my mouth out. Took a second sip and really get the full essence of what the wine is about. Really ripe red cherries with a little twinge of tartness, earthy undertones to it, really nice acidity on the finish, leaves your mouth kind of dry. So looking for the taste, the body, the texture of the wine. It's very lean and light, but also has that nice acidity, a little bit of tannin structure to kind of grab your mouth. What do all those things mean? So backing up, when I first take that sip, one of the terms you'll hear people say is upfront. So upfront is the first flavors you experience when that wine hits your mouth. The upfront flavors. For me on this one, it was cherry. Mid palate, or mid palate, is kind of the middle of the sip. So as you swish it around, as you've either spit it out or swallowed it, kind of what do you start experiencing after that first upfront flavors go away? So for me, this particular wine evolved from those ripe red cherries to a little bit of a tart cherry, and then towards the finish, it evolved to a little bit more acidic, a little bit of earthy undertones, kind of grip my mouth, a little bit of tannin in there as well, which is the finish, like what you're tasting in your mouth even long after you finish the sip. That's the finish of the wine. The body of the wine, how heavy, how light it is. The texture, is it smooth and creamy? Is it grippy, astringent? All those types of things that can play into how you taste the wine. So we've seen, we've swirled, we've sniffed, we've sipped, and now we've savored. As I'm talking about that finish, what I'm still experiencing, I'm going to take one more sip. Yeah, that nice cherry, earth, acidity, tannin. And that last sip, I even get a little bit more cherry comes back again on the finish. That's so this is that savoring element. You just let it sit there. Some wines will linger for a long, long time. That's called a long finish. Some wines you'll taste, you get the flavors, and it'll just kind of dissipate quickly. In general, people feel like the longer the finish, the better quality the wine. It's not always the case because some wines are meant to just be simple, easy drinking. But those are the basic 5 steps to tasting a wine. Go out, give it a try, see, swirl, sniff, sip, and savor. Really hope you enjoyed this, found it useful, found it helpful. If you did so, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and share this with a friend. If you want to add any steps that you like to do when you're tasting wine, please let us know in the comments below. Really look forward to hearing from you. Really look forward to seeing you again in the future.